10 years to have him. Definitely you don't want to see him in a jail suit in shackles and chains. We had high hopes for the kid. I mean, I think every parent does. But early on, we knew he wasn't a student. He had trouble in school.
I started at the age of 15, and I started off drinking like most teenagers do, and then you get a little curious and want to try smoking marijuana. And I started off doing that at around the age 15, and marijuana is definitely what is the gateway drug, and it led to me doing cocaine, very high, a lot actually. And I've done other drugs, but not as much as I would smoke marijuana and sniff cocaine.
He's always been immature, so I mean his demeanor changed, but you can't, I couldn't say that was because of the drugs, because I mean I think he reached adolescence. He reached it late actually.
I wasn't doing drugs and I'd come home, everything would be fine, but when I'd get high and come home, then that's when I'd be arguing with my mom, my dad start yelling at me, all this, and over little things that you shouldn't even argue over, and everything would just erupt because I wasn't in the right frame of mind, and arguing over little things like, oh, I didn't take out the trash, little things like that. You'd get in a big, huge argument, people would storm out of my house, and I'd end up breaking something like punching the wall or kicking the door, throw a temper tantrum.
He had to have been, I think, maybe in 11th grade. I found a, pipe. I confronted him. I smashed it in front of him, and I told him. At that point, I didn't tell his father. There was lots of things I kept because his father didn't stop, blow. I mean, he's very, easygoing, but then when something like that comes, he blows.
Wasn't a lot. That was a weekend thing back then. Yeah. It was,
Back then is when?
Back in high school,
Yeah.
if he partied in that, and not necessarily drugs, alcohol too. See, and on my side of the family, there has been alcoholism, and I'm not in that category, fortunately. But my uncle, my brother, my father, was a weekend alcoholic, you could say. Didn't miss any work. Everybody worked hard. Peter's a hard worker, okay? I figured he could make some decisions to, but it didn't work. So my advice to parents is if you see any indication, you can't let it drop, you gotta go out and get some help right away.
My parents are strict to begin with, but they obviously were lenient because, I mean, by letting me, when I first told them about smoking marijuana, they got mad and all that, but they let it slide. I was going to do what I was going to do. And they were cool, quote, quote, you want to say, for letting me do that, but now look what it's gotten me into. Maybe if they were strict and said, you can't do this and you can't do that, otherwise you're going to be out on your butt, well, you ain't living under my house and all that, maybe I wouldn't be smoking drugs and doing all them things.
He is sat at the dinner table and he was half stoned, and we didn't recognize it, and we teach it.
Really?
Yeah.
And we teach it.
And
Of course,
we're not a family. I mean, dinner time, we've always sat down to dinner, no matter what. Everything's been in, these kids have been, both kids have been involved in sports and everything, but we always managed to sit down to dinner. And we talked about these things. This was not something you swept under a rug. People who know me know, I don't keep my mouth shut, I just talk. And we've talked about it. I mean, we've talked about sex, we've talked about drugs, we talked about everything with both of our kids.
You use the marijuana and you just keep using that, and then, after a while, I mean, you're curious. It makes you curious. You do marijuana, then you get used to it. And all of a sudden, some kid comes along and puts a line of cocaine on the table, and then, it's really the curiosity of getting into it. You're either going to do the line or you're not going to do the line. And if you do the line and you like it, there you go. You just hit that drug, and then you start doing that, and then maybe, okay, you're sick of cocaine, and for I haven't done heroin, but that could lead to heroin. People like doing heroin.
So when he turned out to be a stellar athlete, and he was both track and soccer, and he had an opportunity to go to a 4-year school. Plattsburgh was really interested in him. Coach Waterbury really, pushed to have him come here, even though in my heart I knew he didn't belong this far away from home. Okay, oh yeah. And I would have preferred to see him in a community college, get his feet on the ground, but he wanted to come here, so he did.
When I went to college, I continued that right through, and only when I was playing soccer for the college, I made it mandatory that I stopped and kept him out what I was doing for a 3-month period. I did not smoke cigarettes, marijuana, or go out and party, because that was a rule for the soccer team, that we all had a pact that we wouldn't, for the season we would just stay clean. And then after that, I'd start right back up on smoking marijuana, and continued that pretty much every day through college. I'd drink maybe 6 to 12 beers, I would say. And that's at the bar. I mean, it all, like weekdays, if I'd go out, I wouldn't drink that much, but on weekends, I would drink extensively. We'd start off at like keg parties, and then you'd go down to the bar at around 11 o'clock, you say, and I'd probably have maybe 6. I wouldn't buy 6 to 12 beers. Friends would get me a beer, and I'd get them a beer, but I would say around 6 to 12 beers on a good night.
What the hell did we do wrong? And you have that feeling.
In 1996, alcohol caused me to get a DWI up here in Clinton County. Fortunately, I caught a break, and I got it reduced down to a DWAI, but I still had to go through alcohol classes to get a conditional license to drive to work and continue on doing things that would keep me out of trouble. And I went through all them classes, and I've been in a lot of trouble up here, and it's mainly due to alcohol and drugs. And continuing use has just made me flunk out of school, like I said, 4 times. DWI, I've gotten arrested downtown a couple times just for like shaking a street sign. I mean, if I was sober, I wouldn't walk up to a street sign and shake it, and it just has led to a lot of problems that have happened in my life. Had a little kick with acid, and probably my freshman and sophomore year, I did a lot of LSD extensively, and I started cocaine probably. I was using cocaine, but not very frequently through my freshman and sophomore year in college. Just really started to get into the cocaine my junior and senior year in college. And unfortunately, I flunked out of school 4 times because most definitely of my drug use. And I chose drugs over going to school and get my education pretty much. And I still haven't got my diploma yet. I was doing probably 1 gram to 2 grams of cocaine a day, I would say. And I wouldn't say every day, but an estimation of maybe every other days, maybe 2 to 3 days, I'd do 1 gram to 2 grams in the evening. And I was smoking marijuana just about every day. I thought, yep, I'm not going to get in trouble. This is going fine here. I can do this later. And nothing would ever get done. And that's the main reason why I flunked out of school 4 times. I was selling cocaine, and that would pay for my marijuana habit that I had. I would have free weed all whenever I wanted it, and that by selling cocaine, I'd actually have extra cocaine too to do. So basically, my drug habits were provided for by me selling the drugs out on the street.
You want to bring this kid up and to something good, and then he turns out like this.
I thought of myself as a big drug dealer, actually, and I just didn't think I would get caught. I thought everything was going fine. That's the thing that cocaine does for you. You're making a lot of money at a short amount of time, and you don't think you can get caught, and then all of a sudden, whammo, you get hammered on, and it's not a good feeling, because it definitely leads you the wrong way.
I mean, it's just like they drive fast. They don't think they're ever going to crash. They think they're invincible.
When he called me and told me I was arrested, for the cocaine part, I just almost fell off. The phone almost fell out of my hand. Could not believe that. that well covered up.
It was tough for me. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was constantly thinking how much trouble I was going to be in. Just a lot of stuff goes through your head, all in a short little amount of time. When this happened, this was a day or two. I spent 2 days in jail before I bailed myself out, and I couldn't think straight. Had so much stuff going on in my mind, how to talk to my parents, how much trouble I was going to be in, how I was going to get out of jail, and it just all boggles up in your mind, and you can't even think straight. It just drives you nuts.
I couldn't understand him. He was hysterical. It was almost, the phone was almost shaking in my hand from him. That's how hysterical he was. I was kind of nervous, worried about his choices that he was going to make. I'm trying to calm him down. He talked so fast that I couldn't really understand him. And then I finally calmed him down, and he was just bawling his eyes out on the other end of the phone. His girlfriend got on the phone again, and I talked to her, and then I talked to him again. And I said, calm down, we'll support you, okay? And, you know, family is family. We don't condone it, but we'll support you whatever you need.
Told him I had been arrested, and I sat in jail for 2 days and bailed myself out. I just couldn't get enough heart to call home and tell you what I had done. And then I finally just came right out with it and said, yes, I was selling cocaine. And he didn't take it well at first, but I mean, he could definitely tell that I needed help. And he talked to my mom, and I called him the next day, and they were going to back me and support me through this time.
Now I'm thinking, here I got this kid, and I'm worried about him, and I know what effect it's going to have on Linda. And I go, oh boy. So she comes in, and I said, sit down.
Just the feeling of doing drugs makes anybody want to do them, you know. And it's a tough thing to get over. It is an addiction, and only what you need rehab to really recover from doing drugs.
Don't think that love, and Peter loves us, okay, dearly, all right, doesn't matter. Okay, you get on these drugs, and I have felons that work for me at my plumbing shop, and one of them was talking about crack cocaine. He says, just think of crack cocaine when you're doing it as better than an orgasm. That's the way he summed it up, all right? He says it's better than an orgasm. Now you're going to stop it, and 10 minutes after it wears off, you're going to want more. And then he says, do you like sex? I said, yeah. He says, well, then you like crack cocaine.
I mean, I straight out, right, face to face, lied. Nothing. Didn't even think twice. Be like, oh well, just knew I was going to get away with it by lying. And it doesn't get you anywhere. I had to get in this trouble to learn that I was doing the wrong thing. Otherwise, I'd still be out there today, and the God honest truth, I'd probably still be selling drugs today if I did not get into trouble and have this basically all come upon me, and then all something clicks, and you're like, wow, I need some help.
I suggested, well, maybe you should get some help. What do you think? Yeah, well, you know, and that, but I said, you got to make the call. So I found the phone numbers in the book for him, and I says, there's the number. He walked around, all right, and all that, and he finally picked up the phone. Hi, my name is Peter Schreiber, all right, and I got in a little bit of trouble, all right. I was selling drugs, and I'm going to go to jail, but I was wondering if I could get some help. I almost fell right off the couch, all right. That was the first step, okay. And then he started to go, and at first, when they first meet their counselor, she's feeling him out, all right, and taking notes, and he said, my goodness, we talked for 2 hours and all this stuff, and she says, you think you got a problem? No, all right, and she held up the list of the things. Now, we don't know this yet. To this day, I don't know what he has done, okay, totally, except beer, probably shots of whiskey, marijuana, and now the cocaine. I don't know any of the others, and I'm sure that there are more, plenty more.
I've tried Valium, I've tried acid, Ritalin, which is a highly drug that kids are doing these days out on the streets. And I've got a good record of doing drugs pretty much, and it's not something to be proud of. Called them up and got myself signed up and did 3 months of rehab, and then started my jail time here, and I'm going to finish my rehab when I get out.
I think the counseling helped a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
He became very close with the chief psychologist there, a lady, and also his group therapy. He used to drive 80 miles twice a week from Holiday Valley, where he worked in the winter, so he could make the meeting and then turn around and drive
back
back
to work.
so he could go to work the next day.
I think I can safely drink alcohol without going to the marijuana, but I'm going to choose not to drink the alcohol and complete my rehab program just to see, because I mean, I have a clear mind now about things. I'm not all, you know, I can't go to the bars and all that because probation's not permitting me, and that's not necessarily the reason why I don't. I just don't want to go out and drink anymore. I just want to start over, get a new life going, and see if I can go that way and hopefully not relapse. But I personally think I could probably drink alcohol and not use marijuana or get back into the cocaine. But the real test would be if someone came up to me and put a bowl of marijuana or a joint of marijuana and a line of cocaine in my face, then that would be the test. If I could have someone looking at me and sit and actually witness me say, no, I don't want that, that's a big, big accomplishment for me then. You know, because there's a lot of people that'll do that and then turn right around and go outside and, you know, become a closet drug addict and start snorting cocaine and smoking marijuana behind closed doors where no one can see, and then they'll tell you to their face that you haven't been doing anything. And that's a big thing that people do too.
Well, I hate to say this, but if he ever ends up, you know, back in the same situation, then I'll know it wasn't me.
I'm not on drugs. I know, you know, I got a good heart. I'm strong. I'm almost positive I'm not going to go back to drugs, but that's why I'm still going to continue in the rehab, because I still need more rehab I'm not fully recovered, to say. And I feel good about myself, but there's days that I think back like, wow, what did I just do? And there's some days where I just sit there and think about what I've done and how much stuff I put my parents through, and it hurts. It hurts sometimes. I just sit in quiet and just think to myself and say things in my head and be like, how did I do this and why did I do that? And
How, as a teacher, 32 years, 33 years of experience, how you can go out and reach them and convince them and convince their parents and everything else baffles me.
Never had them say, well, you can't live under this roof and all that if you're going to continue to use drugs and all that. So I basically got away with it. I could live under their roof, use their money sometimes to buy drugs, and not have a thing go wrong with it.
Go out, get help, whether you have to force them or not. That's where I made my mistake. Should have taken them, whether you have to drag them in or what, to get some counseling.
If they have children, keep an eye on them, because they can be doing things right behind your back that you don't even know. My parents thought they knew everything about me, but they obviously didn't know that much if I was doing all this stuff. And my mom used to say that, well, I know everything about you and what you're doing, and in a way, I proved her wrong, but, you know, in a way, it devastates them.
I mean, he heard the judge, but I don't think he heard the judge. I don't think Peter hears what he wants to hear. I think he's always done that. He's a good, you know, a good listener.
I think I should have gotten into drug counseling real early, because that's helped me a lot.
My worries are with the label, the felon. I look to the future and I see that and I go, oh boy.
I got a golden opportunity here, a good chance to prove to myself that I can do this and not screw up again, because if I do screw up again, like the judge said, I will be doing prison time, and that is not something that someone wants to do. That takes away a lot of years of your life, and at my age, at 24, I don't need to be spending 8 years in prison when I could be out working for 8 years and making money and supporting a family if I have one. And it's, it's just a waste of your life when you go to prison, all over for just selling drugs. And you don't think of it at the time when you're doing drugs or selling them. You don't think that could happen, and then when it does, then you find out the hard way that you can be going to prison for a certain amount of time of your life, if not for life.